You're listening to the House of Cards on Facebook, YouTube, and BigPatriotRadio.com. All licenses for music and content have been purchased by and are for the express use of the Big Patriot Radio networks. All information, opinions, and topics are for entertainment purposes and do not expressly represent the opinions of the show's host and or producer. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. And good evening. There you are. Good evening, everybody. It is Big Patriot Radio and Beaufort County's House of Cards coming to you. It is Thursday, the September 25th, the 25th of September, coming to you live from the Big Patriot Radio studios here in the great state of South Carolina. Welcome, everyone, listening in on Big Patriot Radio. From all over the place. Last week we had two in London. I remember the one we had Taiwan and two from London, and there was a couple others. I think Canada or whatever. Glad to hear you, or glad to see you chiming in the BigPatriotRadio.com website. Also, Facebook and YouTube. We are live there, and this will show on replay on both YouTube and Facebook. You know, it's been 2 weeks now since the 24th anniversary of 9/11 and the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And let me pause. Let me show you all this hat. How about this? Today is, from what I understand, National Daughters Day. One of my daughters got this hat for me, and there's that on the front. This is the turning point. And how about that on the side? How about that? That is awful cool. And I'm trying to find out if, there we go, if the person who made these, made this hat, wants to sell them. I'll be glad to, pimp their product, as they say. But really cool. Blue, that's a navy blue hat. And I know she did them for my daughter's husband in a different style. But there you see, it's like what do they call it? A truck driver hat, Charlie Kirk on the side. This is the turning point, and that's really cool. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Anyway, this is the we've been about 2 weeks now since 9/11 and Charlie Kirk's assassination. Don't forget, folks. We want to hear from you. Put your comments and however you're listening to us in the chat bar. So, chat, get at it. Last couple of weeks, we've had a really active chat. I want to first publicly address the individual. I'll just address everybody, but someone reached out to me last week and said, and I appreciate this, don't get me wrong, said, you are, I'll say it nicely, you're a nincompoop for using the word assassination. And I was like, why is that? Because Charlie Kirk was not a president. Well, no shit, Alfred. Anyway, the conversation pretty much ended there. So let me get the facts straight, because the literal meaning, and if you folks, and let's not be, let's not kid ourselves. Most of the people that watch this show, I'm assuming, at least that I hear from, are right-leaning folks, or at least moderate down the middle and to the right. If you get attacked like this, here's what you can throw back. Remember, they hate the truth. The truth is objective, like reality. It is what it is. Anyway, literally by definition, Kirk was assassinated. The literal meaning of the word is, quote, murder by sudden or secret attack, often for political reasons, end quote. I believe that was Merriam-Webster or Cambridge Dictionary, one of the two. So literally, by definition, he was assassinated. Anyhow, political tension in the United States seems to have grown exponentially since the event. Conservatives and right-thinking people, as they say, are rallying around the message across the country of revival. Revival, interestingly, and some folks have picked up on this, and it's true. The majority and people have been in a state of revival ever since specifically the assassination of Charlie Kirk. After the death of George Floyd, if you don't want to use George Floyd, use I think it was Michael Brown, I believe, or any of those. The response from that group was to burn things down, to riot, to seek a revolution. Even Charlie Kirk's wife, during her address, I believe it was Sunday, yeah, her address in Phoenix, her speech, she mentioned this exact same thing. The contrast between these groups is stark. I mean, could it be any more different in the way the behavior is of the two groups? I'm sure that many, if not all of you, feel this way as well. Would love to hear from you. If you don't feel that way, please go to chat. Let me know. Let everybody know, what's up. But during the moments after the Kirk murder and since, I don't know about you all, but I have not had the urge to go burn down a McDonald's and the Publix across the street. I mean, really? I think this is in stark reality, that shows the difference, if you will, of human behavior. Actually, let me reword that. I think this would be a great, like a dissertation for someone to show the difference of human behavior. It would actually be an excellent one between, those who riot when there is a problem and those who revival when there's a problem. I mean, it would have to be somebody much younger, much smarter than me. But I mean, I think that would be an excellent paper, if you will. Seriously, what makes some people who generally are aligned either with far left ideologies or the anti-government, Marxist, socialist, communist, and even some have said that, atheism is aligned with those on the left. If it is or whatever, those type of behaviors, why is it that they want to do this? Why is it they want to do this?
Let's go! The station that keeps it rocking 24/7. Ladies and gentlemen, BigPatriotRadio.com.
Thank you so much to those of you that have been with us since day one. I always want to make sure you feel that, because I truly mean that. We appreciate you being here since day one. Those who joined for the first time this week, super glad to have you. You can, if you feel so inclined, support the show. We love to have your help. You will notice that along the bottom of your screen, there you go. We have the 2,500 stars, and we need to correct something right away, because I don't like putting that on there. Let's move. There we go. Whether it's through Patreon, Venmo, Facebook stars, whatever, we just appreciate you. Number one song last week on Big Patriot Radio was Honky Tonk You by Toby Keith. May he rest in peace. Bluffton, South Carolina, again, by far was the number one listening city, with Summerville, South Carolina, Beaufort, Hilton Head, and Pooler, Georgia, all tied there, rounding out the top five last week here on Beaufort County's House of Cards and Big Patriot Radio.
Everything that rocks is right here. Right here.
That's rock.
With Big Patriot Radio.
That's what I'm talking about.
Already. Hey, Julianne, how are you? Julianne says from the chat that they interviewed people from Seattle after Memorial, and they said they weren't free to speak about Charlie Kirk's assassination in Seattle. Unbelievable. We have just want to remind you, by the way, late addition to the show, we've got someone coming on here probably around the 7:50 time mark, as we talk about how St. Helena Island has been told the ultimate lie. We're going to have somebody on here after a while. Hey, Willie, speaking of our guests, comparing Charlie Kirk's assassination to the response after George Floyd is wrong. Okay. Kirk was killed by a white person. All right. White on white violence has never led to cities burning or anti-government uprisings, etc. Black people killed all the time. T-shirt vigil, life going on. All right. We will, I hear you, and I appreciate that. I think that would be something good to talk about because that's just another avenue. But I do believe, take color out of it. I'm talking about the death of one person who is supported by historically the left and input anybody else historically supported by the left ideology. The supporters historically tend to burn, riot, loot, steal, whatever. That's a historical fact. I never mentioned, and I really don't care what color they are. It's a fact that left-leaning ideology has more tendency to burn shit down. Right-leaning ideology doesn't typically do that. Again, look at Charlie Kirk's memorial if you want to. There was nothing there mentioned about creed, color, or whatever. That's got nothing to do with it. But I appreciate you saying that, and hopefully we can talk more about this in a little while. We have a new advertiser on board with us. You've heard me talk about it. You may have heard their ads all over Big Patriot Radio. I want to welcome Skips Dufusky Tees. Skips Dufusky Tees .us to our family. Let me see if I can find their they have a photo up here somewhere. What did we do with it? There it is. skipsdefuskytees.us, not .com, .us. They have an incredible selection of t-shirts with themes of Americana, the U.S. military, Trump 45, Trump 47, GOP. There are pictures. There are t-shirts of the U.S. military B-2 bomber, B-52, I believe it is also. Some shirts taking pot shots, no pun intended, or actually is pun intended, at Iran. There's shirts with the U.S. cabinet members on them, like Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, Kristi Noem. What else? A lot of patriotism. Now, I was on there last week before I had to go out of town. There's now t-shirts of all flavors of just, pretty trees or flora and fauna, whatever. You get the picture. skipsdefuskytees.us. And hey, they're only $25. $25. That's it. And they're made right here in America, right here in Beaufort County, right here on Dufusky Island. 80% of the profits from these tees go directly to solid GOP reelection campaigns, such as Win Red. And per the owner, John told me that hopefully they'll even be able to send some of these 80% of the profits down ballot to even local, state, regional, but especially local candidates. Again, that's skipsdefuskytees.us.
Introducing to you. You're on House of Cards. Live on Facebook and YouTube. It's going down now. Locked and loaded with the truth.
All right. And Willie, hey, Willie's in the chat says, agree, but I think it's more of a leadership of the left and anti-government standing, more times anti-patriotic stands to begin with. That may be. And I think that would lead to a lot of folks possibly, and we can get into this later, would possibly lead folks into this statement of thinking that, well, if it's left leadership, and I agree, and I could recite example after example that spew this stuff. People believe it and get excited, and not a good excited. They get excited and carry on the actions in a negative manner. Whatever the reason is, the bantering between right and left and the revivalists and the rioters needs to stop. And both sides are guilty of stoking the fire. Both sides. I agree with that 100%. There are police now being shot at almost every day, not quite every day. We heard yesterday of this moron down in Texas. Now we know he carried a ladder on his car to a ICE holding facility. Somehow got shimmied up on the roof. Had ammunition with anti-ice shit wrote on there or whatever, scribbled on there. Fired several shots, killing one detainee, injuring two more detainees. And they found, obviously, a manifesto, some kind of letter somewhere that said, he's anti-ICE, period. He said, yep, I'm doing this alone. I'm going to, and I'm paraphrasing, kill as many as I can. He took his own life, coward, sissy-ass coward, couldn't take, his punishment. He killed himself, and he didn't do what he set out to do, thank goodness. But the point of this is police now are increasingly under fire by these lunatics who support the burning of the seats. Maxine Waters, U.S. Congresswoman from who knows what rock she's from, even has come out over the years calling for people to get out in the streets and riot. Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable. Anyhow, last week we told you the story about a lawsuit that was filed by Bluffton Town Councilwoman Bridget Frazier against the town of Bluffton. The chief of police, the officer that arrested her, and the South Carolina DMV. The lawsuit, which is not sealed, and it is public knowledge. We showed it here on the screen. Completely legal, and again, is public knowledge. I want to make sure that you understand that. It is legal to show that document, and it is public knowledge. It was FOIA'd. The document is available. We received hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of views, and actually more, to be quite honest, playback on demand from all of the social media platforms out there that we have. Messages received were from, the completely startled, like, when did this happen, to completely being pissed off about our locally elected officials here in Beaufort County yet once again. Since our major expose last week about this, Bluffton Mayor Larry Toomer made a public comment through an article again in the Post and Courier, and we understand it was on Facebook. Post and Courier reporter Mitchell Black reported this. Toomer responded, quote, "I do not support her decision to sue the town over her arrest," end quote. And again, Toomer originally made this comment on Facebook, and eventually Mitchell Black reported on it in the Post and Courier. Toomer went on to say that, quote, "My position is based on simple principle. No one is above the law," end quote. Now, breaking news, though, as is normal for when someone, quote, breaks out of line and places any kind of normalcy, which may fly in the face against Bridget Frazier, she came out with a reply or a rebuttal this week. Yes, I'm implying that Larry Toomer, according to the detractors, broke out of line and placed some kind of normalcy. That was a normal, usual, and customary comment reply from him as people were calling, "Hey, Mr. Mayor, what is your opinion?" Well, he gave his opinion. He doesn't agree with it. His position is based on a simple principle. No one is above the law. He doesn't agree with her. Well, she broke out. She went, in my terminology, she went off. She came out with a rebuttal this week, and I'm going to quote the councilwoman. "I will never yield to intimidation when standing up against injustices and for those without the voice or platform to speak for themselves. While Mayor Toomer is entitled to his perspective, it is troubling to see him depart from his own call to gather facts before rushing to judgment," end quote. Now, excuse me, if you need me to read that again, just say the word, chat, and I'll be glad to, and I will, because it is filled with an entire labyrinth of what I like to call a word salad. Let's unpack Frazier's statement. Quote, I will never yield to intimidation when standing up against injustices and for those without the voice or platform to speak for themselves, end quote. When we unpack that sentence, we see that, and this is true for the majority of humans, when writing replies to very hostile reportings, we see that she immediately makes this about intimidation. Immediately, right off the bat. This is the I'm going to call out the woe is me card. She feels like the victim. It's the world against her. If you unpack the context of that sentence, that is what she is saying. This is all about intimidation. I'm not going to stand for it. And I am taking on the responsibility for everybody who doesn't have a voice or who doesn't have a platform for the voice, and I'm going to be their leading savior. She feels this is after she pivots. She actually pivots and speaks to her own political platform, ending that sentence. That's her platform of speaking out for those who have no voice or no platform. I get that. That has nothing to do with you breaking the law or being pulled over or arrested. She feels she has the platform. She does. She has the voice. This is where her reply turns from the victim card to the what's in it for me card. When you look at it, when you look at this that way, and this is how linguists and science investigates what people write and the words they use. I checked with some that I could get a hold of, and this is the result. The context, the phrasing, the terminology, that does set the tone. Those of you who understand English, the language, as far as the science of the language, the building of the language, you can set the tone. And that tone, using the what's from the victim card to the what's in it for me card, this is classic narcissistic behavior. I'm not calling Ms. Frazier a narcissist. No one has called her a narcissist. This is classic narcissistic behavior, period, point blank, full stop. Now, what is a narcissist? Well, a narcissist is defined, quote, as a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves, end quote. I mean, you want me to explain the correlation here, or you figure it out for yourself? It's not that hard. You see, at the end of the day, and this is what I was trying to relay there, is Ms. Frazier broke the law when she was pulled. Well, she didn't break the law when she was pulled over. Hold on one second. Got a message just came across. Read it again. Broken down is the best. She has no. All right, let me read that again. Let's read it again. Where did I write that? Let's, okay. This is the quote from Congress. Good Lord help me. Councilwoman Frazier. I will never yield. This is in response to Mayor Toomer. I will never yield to intimidation when standing up against injustices and for those without the voice or platform to speak for themselves. While Mayor Toomer is entitled to his perspective, it is troubling to see him depart from his own call to gather facts before rushing to judgment. Thank you, Janet, for being a weekly watcher of this show. So anyway, I gave you the explanation, the definition of a narcissist and narcissistic behavior. At the end of the day, she did break the law. She broke the law by speeding 21 or more miles per hour over the speed limit. That used to be called reckless driving. I don't know what they call it now. That's where she really broke the law. She did not get arrested for that, which most likely anyone else, me included, I would have been arrested for that. Her DMV records came back to the officer that she had an active, what's known as a DUS, not DUI. Driving under suspension, not for a DUI, driving under the intoxication. That wasn't part of it. The license was suspended. That came back from the DMV, the South Carolina DMV. Bluffton doesn't do that. Beaufort County doesn't do that. That is the state DMV, Division of Motor Vehicles. So looking into her past, and the officer, this is well documented, the officer did that through the DMV. I'm sure you all have done that. I did that through open records laws and OSINT or open technology, open source technology. Looking into her past, it is true and obvious that she has had some kind of a problem with DUS, not DUI, for a while now. This isn't her first. Let's just leave it at that. So for that, he arrested her. Just like anyone else, any of the fellow peasants of mine, like me, would have been arrested. I would have been arrested for the speeding, excessive, 21 plus, and for driving under suspended license. She only got arrested for the DUS, not DUI. So she got a break. It came out eventually that the DMV records were wrong about her license at that time, that it may not have actually been suspended. Is that the officer's fault? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The officer calls that in over, the two-way radio to dispatch, or the officer enters it in on his MDT. It's a mobile laptop, if you will. One of the two, dispatch or the officer, talks to DMV and this open records, and this is where it came back. Oh, she's got a suspended license, and here's her record. It's not the officer's fault. Is it the chief of police's fault? Absolutely not. Is it the town that, by the way, that she serves as an elected official for? Is it the town's fault? Absolutely not. Those three people, the town, the chief, the town, the chief, the officer, and the police department, that should be thrown out of court immediately. They've got nothing to do with this. Now, in her lawsuit, she does say, well, they arrested me and violated my rights by not reading me my Miranda rights. Well, as I told you last week, in South Carolina, when you are arrested, you don't have to have your Miranda rights read to you. Well, let me rephrase that. They don't have to read them to you. They do have to read them to you if you are detained and being questioned, investigated, whatever. Then they have to read you your Miranda rights. What do you say, Leon? How's it going? Good to have you on here. Thank you so much for watching. So again, in her lawsuit, they didn't read me my rights, broke my constitution out. My constitutional rights are broken. And hey, this is just armchair quarterback. Okay. Little guy with a podcast, but I do know the law, and I've spoken to some lawmen out there, real lawmen, kind of like the grease man from DC 101, who have said, there they are right there. They said you don't have to read them their Miranda rights when they're being arrested. It's only detained and investigated, or interrogated rather, not investigated. Anyway, again, narcissistic behavior says, let's sue everyone and anyone, and let's call it $2 million because they didn't take my $1 million or $2 million or whatever it was request months and months and months ago. Remember, it came out that, hey, the town owes me, and if you don't do it, I'm going to sue you, yada, yada, yada. Here we are today. Ridiculous. Now, in fairness to Councilwoman Frazier, should the DMV be somewhat responsible for their absolute screw up? Absolutely. I will lead the charge that yes, they have a responsibility. They bear the cross of their actions. Is it a $2 million cross? I got a problem with. Because twofold. One, the IRF, I think it's called, the independent or the insurance fund through the state, whatever the hell it is. They'll cover up to $1 million. The town or whoever the municipality or the county, whatever, they're on the hook for the rest of it. So that means, if she was awarded $2 million, $1 million is going to come from the state insurance fund, and the other $1 million would come from the town of Bluffton, which is you and me, and I have a total problem with that. But anyway, interestingly, it was reported by the same Mitchell Black of the Post and Courier that get this now, when Frazier filed the lawsuit or her attorneys filed the lawsuit, whatever, something like September 5th, according to Mitchell Black, when she filed the lawsuit, her license was suspended again. That's right. And it was suspended this time for failing to maintain active insurance. In all fairness, ever since then, Frazier has, according to Mitchell Black, she has rectified that delinquency. But yet again, we have a failure to either pay for your insurance or go get insurance, whatever it is. As I said last week, do you think you're above the law? You don't have to have insurance. You don't have to pay your tickets. You don't have to pay. You don't have to behave like every other person in this city, this state. Is it that, or are you that ignorant that you don't realize, hey, I've got to pay my insurance bill. Hey, I've got to pay this parking ticket. Hey, I got to go to court to try to beat this speeding ticket and maybe get it knocked down a point or two. Most of us have been there, had to do that. Her license was suspended when she filed the lawsuit, according to the Post and Courier, suspended again for failure to maintain active insurance. But wait, all is not lost. All is not lost for her. She has a group, part of the Blackwity or the BEU. I forget whatever the terminology is. This group has had their rent. I have reported on this before. Her rent, whatever, has been paid continually by you, the taxpayer, to the tune. Get this now, to the tune of $14,000. $14,000 in rent over the last couple of years through the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation. Her rent for the BEU or the Blackwity group or whichever, there's so many. Her rent has been paid by the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation, of which we showed she didn't meet the metrics for, but they had her rent paid for $14,000 over the last couple of years. I am sure she says, thank you, Beaufort County taxpayers. We have a word from skipsthefuskytees.us.
Skipsthefusky Tees is giving you a reason to laugh and a reason to travel. Every shirt you buy is a ticket in the Trump Trip giveaway, where you could win a luxury stay in New York City, Vegas, or Miami. We're talking penthouse suites, spa days, casino chips, and flights for two. And all you had to do was buy a t-shirt. Go to skipstefuskytees.us and grab yours now. The shirts are funny. The prize, it's serious.
Locked and loaded.
Let's go.
Big Patriot Radio. Blues, news, country pop, and classic rock.
All right, we're going to switch sides of the Broad River right now and head up to Beaufort and St. Helena. It is 20 minutes before the top of the hour, about 7:50 or so. Hopefully we get Willie Terrell on here. This past Monday night, the Pine Island subject came up once again for public hearing about going into a development agreement process between the county and the landowner. Proudly, I can say that this channel has been saying for, I don't know how long it is now, months and months and months, that it is the direct duty of the Natural Resources Committee and County Council, and this is written, to enter into development agreement processes with landowners and developers. That's part of why they're there. That's how this process works. If you want to create a development, there has to be a process of a development agreement. And the development agreement is a list of wants and needs from the developer, and the county has a list of wants and needs on its end, and they meet in the middle. County council is supposed to drive this, and the staff, planning commission or planning office, zoning office, and the administration should take the lead by or from county council, not show the lead. That's mistake number one or two in this. Number one is they didn't even have it. But county council is to appoint a select committee. Proudly, I've sat on 3 of them. And they hash this out. You either come up with a compromise and development can move forward, or you agree to disagree and it's shut down. But the process has to happen. In other words, how can county council say no if you don't have the conversations? They can't. And if they do, well, then there's something nefarious somewhere. Well, you just have to figure it out. Sit down at the table, present the sides, make the offers and the counter offers. And if you come to an agreement, put it in writing, take it to the citizens and have public hearings so the citizens can give their input. Then that same group comes back and they say, okay, well, the citizens want this. Well, I can do that. Well, the citizens want this and I can do this. And you come up with either you agree to what the citizens want to say and ask for, or you pull it off the table, you agree to disagree, and life goes on. Get the public's input, rinse and repeat until you either have a deal or you don't, and you move on. But to go, and it's true, some work out and some don't. To go directly to no, and I'm proud to say 2 of the ones I worked on came to an agreement. 1, we couldn't agree. Anyway, to go directly to no is adverse to common sense, and honestly, it's going against what is in writing by the county and the county council. I mean, this stuff is in writing. So it begs the question, why? Why is county council going against the very statements that the committees were placed for, and apparently subverting all of that and implementing other plans? That because we can't get a straight answer, we're left with deducing and coming up with our own. But let's first take a look. Let's take a look at what was the latest version, the development plan on the table called the Pine Island Plan. Now, let me give you a statistic. I learned this just the day yesterday, I guess it was, coming back from North Carolina. Let me give you a statistic. And when I heard this, I said, wow, that's kind of messed up. And then the more I thought about it, hung up the phone. The more I thought about it, the more I thought about it. As I got home, I was like, man, that's sad. That statistic is this. And if this doesn't shock you to the core, then I don't know. I guess you're tough. If a person, let's just say John Doe and Jane Doe, and they spend 3 hours on a bus, the Palmetto Breeze, hour and a half to work 8 hours or 10 hours or whatever, and then 3 hour or I'm sorry, hour and a half back home. That's 3 hours a day. With me? And they're on this bus, the Palmetto Breeze, going to work on Hilton Head Island, which is what happens to, those folks living on St. Helena, northern Beaufort County, and even outside of Beaufort County. You get to Hampton, Allendale, Fairfax, Estill, all out through there. There are 3+ hours on the bus a day. Over the life of the development agreement, or 10 years, over their lifespan of a 10-year blocked out window, that person, John Doe or Jane Doe, 10 years, 3 hours on a bus a day, 5 days a week, all said and done, they will have spent 364 days in 10 years on that bus. Away from their families, away from their church, away from their children, away from their recreation, away from their grandkids, away from the farm. That's an entire year, minus a day, an entire freaking year they could be spending with the family. Again, for 10 years of riding the bus back and forth to Hilton Head from St. Helena, 5 days a week. In 10 years, you lose a year. You lost a year of your life. I was just, wow. I did the math myself because I was like, man, I just got to, you got to show me. And I showed myself, and the math is incredible. And of course, you can take it a step further. Like if you live in like Estill or actually Allendale, Fairfax, I mean, that's just not humanly right. I think there needs to be something better. Let's dig into this from a super high level, though. Okay, and you saw in the lead into the show, St. Helena residents get the ultimate lie. Let's talk about this. Pine Island, for the last 150 years or so, it's been owned by people or persons or groups out of this area. They're not from here. The majority were from New England. No one is buried there. The developer spent an enormous, I was told, but now I don't remember, an enormous amount of money on bringing staff on, and there was an archaeologist that came on staff for him, archaeologist of sorts. There may have been a different name exactly, but that's an archaeologist who who did that job over the entire island. And there's LIDAR, there's mapping, there's soil samples. There's a whole breadth of data that can be pulled to find out who's buried where, how many, etc. No one was found. No one was found. That was a dead issue. No pun intended there. Janet, I'll get your answer here in just a second. Remind me if I forget it. No one was found buried there. Now, that was a dead issue until this week when someone or some sort of conservationist type group obviously put that bug into people's heads that, well, there really could be Gullah folks buried there because there are ways they may not be found. And I'm paraphrasing that, but if you were at the meeting or you watched the meeting, that's exactly what was said. No one was found there. Another lie. The island, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be developed. CPO, no CPO, it is going to happen. Some people, I have seen it. They've resorted to literally, I've watched them. I've listened to them. Some people have literally resorted to thinking that if they raise shit enough, loud enough, that the landowner, I guess, will just lay the keys down and go back to New England, I guess, and just say, screw it. That's not how this works. I am here to tell you, all of you, the island, Pine Island, will be developed. The question is how. That was put forth in the Pine Island plan. How? How is it going to happen? Because it will happen. It's a matter of how. The Pine Island plan that was before us at the meeting this past Monday has only been seen by the community at that time for less than a week. How can they mount such a loud attack? Well, the hint and answer is because they're being fed a horrific amount of bullshit, lies after lies, distorted lies from someone on county council, some in their community, and some from conservation groups. The Pine Island plan retains the rural character of the area. Important word, retains. It would control growth. Control. It would protect the environment. Protect. Most of all, it creates public benefits. Public benefits. Let me explain those as they're crucial, and the answers will completely dispel the ridiculous antics of the local conservation groups and some on council. Now, if you're listening from St. Helena and you were dead set on this not happening, no to the CPO, no gates, no golf, listen with an open mind, because you had an open mind when you were told a bag of lies. And hey, I don't have a dog in this fight. I live in Southern Beaver County. I'm just spreading what I've been able to dig up, and I want you to have it and do with it as you want. The Pine Island plan retains the rural character of the area by not having the allowable 150 or so houses. It doesn't allow 170 plus septic tanks and equal number of, or 90, I think it is, of docks. It doesn't allow that. The Pine Island plan gets rid of 150 houses. It gets rid of all the septic tanks. It gets rid of those docks. In other words, if you want docks, if you want septic tanks, you want 150 houses, you want more traffic, you want more impact on schools, then just keep saying no. So no to golf, no to gates, that creative misnomer, that lie, means you're yes for 150 houses, yes for 90 plus docks, yes for 173 septic tanks, yes to having to have your taxes go up to pay for schools, yes to building more roads, yes to more ambulances, yes to more sheriff. If you want peace and tranquility, serenity, local jobs, less traffic, then move forward with accepting the Pine Island plan. Again, the Pine Island plan doesn't have 150 houses. It doesn't have 173 septic tanks. It doesn't have 90 plus whatever it is docks. It doesn't need to, the Pine Island plan does not have an impact negatively on the school system because there aren't any school kids. These are second homes, 6% homes. Even in the 1995 report of the Penn Center, or to the Penn Center rather, the South Carolina Coastal Conservation League led to this very point. They presented a copy of this now 30-year-old paper from the Coastal Conservation League to the Penn Center, making that same point. Even though the word golf course was never mentioned, not one time. The golf course was and we're getting ready to go to we have our guest, Mr. Willie Terrell, going to be coming on here. He's in the green room. The golf course, for those who have been fed a line of baloney, the golf course was to be designed, certified by Audubon standards. Part of those standards were that the stormwater would be inflow. You have a choice. You can have outflow or inflow. You either keep all your stormwater on your property or you get it off of it through drains and stormwater ponds and ditches and whatever. This was going to drain onto itself. The developer, or if you don't do that, but this is important, if you don't do the golf course and 150 houses and 173 septic tanks and 90 whatever docks, all of that's going to drain off those properties. Where is that going to drain to? Well, how many miles of waterfront will people's backyards be? Because that's where it's going to go, right into the water. That's how that works. By keeping the lie that we don't want that, you're accepting that you want to destroy the Morgan River or whatever else is around feeding into the mouth. The developer agreed to and even suggested that the course be built, again, Audubon standards, elimination of chemical-based fertilizers, treatments, etc., that could damage the land, kill the animals, kill the plants. But anyway, we're going to keep on talking about that here. I want to bring in our guest. He ran for auditor. He is a lawyer in St. Helena. He owns a restaurant called Willie T's. Let's bring him on here and welcome Willie Terrell to the stage. Hey, Willie.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me? All right.
I can hear you. There's a little delay. Looks like you're in. You doing a little workout? Is that a gym?
No, we're at Sam's Club. It's like the gym.
All right. Well, you got to go sometime, right? Got to go sometime. Yeah, you're coming in and out. I hope you can hear me okay. Willie, we were starting to talk about the Pine Island plan and how people have been fed an incredible amount of bull crap. You've been very outspoken in favor of the Pine Island plan as we see it now. You have cut through all these lies, and the points you've been making at county council have been poignant. Is not even putting it correctly. I'd like to hear from you about your point of view. I know it's a personal point of view as well. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, just to get straight to it, nothing about the agreement, at least the communication of that and the communication of what the true results would be of the Pine Island plan versus what the CPO wanted to happen. It just was so much misinformation. It's just baffling that much information could come out incorrect. And the sad part is county council is very aware of what's true. I mean, you just spoke about how the property would drain in. I mean, that's just one of many issues that's been lied about. And so here's where I'm really like, I'm just stuck because the CPO is designed for a certain function. And the Pine Island plan operates better than the design of the CPO in every way. So when do you take grievance with something that completes the mission better than you even expected? And so, when I look at this and you look at how much was turned away, Logan is probably the only county council member who attempted to even clarify a lot of the miscommunication, a lot of the rumors that's been spread. And it's such a loss for St. Helena Island because really, Mike, I mean, just to make it simple, I've never seen people turn down the future of the youth, so much contracted benefits on paper, black and white, nothing to argue about, for what seems no more than just racist rhetoric. And I have to broach the subject, and if I'm going to speak truth, and I feel like maybe that's a call, and then let's talk about it truthfully. Like if a black person would have brought this golf course to St. Helena, he would have been this development agreement guaranteeing this much money with this much involvement, and I mean, we're talking about in perpetuity benefits, at least to the 10 years of the development agreement. He would have been touted as maybe a savior, a hero of St. Helena. I think just like the CPO changed the law so that the golf course couldn't be made, I would have seen him changing the law so the golf course could have got in, just because it was the right kind of color and the right kind of guy. I mean, this seems to me just racist rhetoric. It's just there's nothing anyone can tell me that would make me understand why you would turn down so much contracted benefits, the largest benefits that ever been to St. Helena, a place that's a food desert where you go on county council and constantly hear the community come out and ask for things. And literally, the Pine Island literally took everything that was requested, everything that was missing, everything that had been asked for and undelivered, and put it in the plan and say, here, I'll give it to you if you just allow me to do what I should be able to do anyway. And you turn that down. Nobody can rationalize that kind of decision to me.
So, you make a great point there, and I hadn't really thought about that. I tend usually not to, but you said that, if it was a black guy or gal had brought the idea to, and it had sailed through. So why is that? Why is that? When this thing first started, I remember hearing the stories that the landowner was, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't live there, but what I understand is the landowner he met with many spiritual advisors or pastors or reverends or whatever in that community. They prayed over him, they laid hands on him and supported him. And then all of a sudden it was like they were told, no, we ain't doing this. I mean, I don't understand. I have asked Councilman Glover directly, and I think I was looking through him. He didn't acknowledge the question. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, I've seen the documents firsthand, so the conversations happen. That can't be refuted. And yeah, I think they were on. Unfortunately, Mike, it may be too much to digest here, but there's a lot of big players here that's not being talked about. There's this push from CCL. What's their take here? We talk about land grabs, but conservation has been one of the biggest land grabs. It continues to be a predecessor to gentrification. I mean, if you look at the Charleston community, you can go to Wyoming. This is not something that's locked regionally. I mean, this is just how preservation works. It's the mechanisms of, earmarking a large portion of land, which causes the rest of the land that's not earmarked to raise in value, which often pushes residents who have limited income capacity out of the land. And you create a situation where only folks coming outside can afford it. It's what happened in Hilton Head. And again, what makes me upset about the way this was done was it was so much information. The community, I don't think, ever had a full chance to grasp what was really going on. I think that they were sold emotional punchlines to begin with that were unfair. And I think they played on a population that's probably the highest in scams. So we're talking about an impressionable community. And I think you played on those good old racism strings to the tune to get what you want. And I think there's some real bad actors here. I think that county council knows that they probably don't have a chance at beating this in court. I mean, just from a law standing, if you look at this administration and just on a common sense, I mean, we're talking about banning a specific activity. Those who have a little base of the law know that when you go to content specific bans, you tend to run in a higher sense of scrutiny on a judicial level, and it's harder to pass. I mean, it would be hard to get somebody to say no basketball courts or no basketball or no golf or no pickleball, anything like that. So I just think it's a hard ask to at this point in time in this climate to take somebody's land and make it useless, and then that goes into a whole nother round of eminent domain and who wins when this stuff slides. So a lot of power players out here. There's a lot of promises that's been made. There's a lot of deals that's been done. Unfortunately, it's not the ones that people are talking about. And the actors, I think the worst actors are the ones that's getting cheered on the most. And it's hard to really see And I was almost in tears hearing the vote because I'm like, man, we really lost. Like these kids really lost. I mean, we had a community center on the boards. We had jobs. We had housing assistance. We had even more so, we had opportunity for St. Helena to be a tax vehicle, which means that we now have a bigger seat at the table when it comes for advocating for funds that come in, because now we can contribute to the tax conversation.
Absolutely.
We lost so much. We lost so much. And again, I can't fathom, I can't fathom without just my mind saying there's some bad actors and there's some bigger graphs here, even though everything hasn't come to light. And you don't want to talk ahead of things. I think when things come to light, there's going to be egg on a lot of people's faces.
Well, the further down in my show, probably after you and I are done, as I go through this plan, the very light version of it, I'm going to show one of the many things I'm going to show is that where St. Helena residents are losing, probably in one of the biggest areas. Not that anything is more important than the other, but part of the public benefit was to help those, and it was like $3.6 million. Somewhere in there, to help those that need help repairing a roof or repairing the air conditioning, or building a ramp for repairing the windows, all that kind of stuff. Now, what people don't understand, and I saw this Monday night, people don't understand, let's take, for example, the LCOG, Low Country Council of Governments. That's the go-between for like CDBG grants and all these different grants from the Fed and the state. But it was said, and I don't know if anybody listened, it was said that so many people on St. Helena don't qualify, even though they've got, roofs caving in, windows caving in, no air, no heat, no ramps, whatever, because the heirs property problem, because of no insurance, all of these different things that it makes them unqualified. And here was an opportunity for someone to, I think it was called the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust, I think is what they call it, to seed that son of a gun with $3.5 million or whatever it was. These people, I mean, ride onto St. Helena, and the first roof that you see that's caved in or caving in could have gotten help. I don't understand. That's looking a gift horse in the mouth.
Well, Mike, unfortunately, the folks who are out here struggling, like myself, and I struggled to get to that meeting. I showed up in my work clothes, but unfortunately, that the folks that need the help can't stop to look and listen and learn and come and vote. And so, oftentimes, our decision making is left in the hands of those who are okay. They're okay. That's why they said, I saw so many folks comment, and I try not to get upset. And I even got into it, I think, with Stephen, Mayor Murray. And I just say, hey, man, sometimes, anger is good, especially when it's righteous. And, you get tired of seeing the same cycle repeat. And folks like the mayor and folks who have these big voices to stop for a second, stop and at least have the decency, to sit down with the opposite side. And before you make such statements, because I saw a lynch mob in there, man. I didn't see anybody who was listening to the reason and rationale. And again, I like to draw these comparisons because I think it shocks the conscience and makes you kind of wake up, because you got to think what a lynch mob is, what it did, the horrific things that happened under the guise of group hatred. We have to get better than that. We didn't win. We didn't win anything. And again, saying no doesn't stop anything for a developer. We've seen this time and time and time again, where we think we have these ceremonious wins, which 4 or 5 years it exhausts the county. So the people in Hilton Head are going to pay for this. This is a lawsuit. People from every county district is going to pay for this. No, ultimately, like I said, it's not a strong chance of beating this guy. I see him winning out in a few years, getting a golf course. St. Helena walks away with nothing, and we just find ourselves in the same dumb position. So at some point in time, we got to give way to passion and just start looking at reason and rationality, and reading and making informed decisions. And I think leadership has to do better, man, at making decisions that are truly going to affect the people. We're not looking forward at all, Mike. We're just looking back. We're looking back and trying to undo wrongs, and the kids are losing in a situation. That's the biggest loss here. The kids are saying, "Helena."
Yeah, let me ask you. That was where my next question was, and I've been here for 30 some odd years, so I mean, I'm not, I'm not new to the Gullah culture. You know, I understand it, and I've had some great opportunities and experiences, especially on Defusky over the years. Sally Ann Robinson, I love her. She's just awesome. But in that culture, in your culture, you know, the elderly are held in a certain fashion, and I think that's good. And so are kids. You know, this is the future. This is where our traditions of the Gullah Geechee culture, this is where it's going. You know, Willie, you and I are going to be gone one day, and it's who we bring up to carry that on. You know, in my opinion, tell me if I'm wrong, but people like, and I'm going to call them out, York Glover, Queen Quet, they just looked at all those kids, your kids on St. Helena and anybody else's, and just said, you don't matter. That's what I got out of this.
No, that's what happened. That's what happened. And honestly, everybody who stood up, chaired, and waved the sign said the same thing. You know, we owed these children at least, if nothing more, diligence. It's nothing more diligence. It's nothing. If you read every county minute, if you saw the plan, if you did your research and you came and said, after all that research, hey, I don't want this, fine, I respect it and I love it. That's democracy. But it's when you allow yourself to be hand-fed garbage that doesn't even make sense to you, and you choose to believe in it because it fits what you want to happen. You know, that kind of divisiveness, it always causes scars, and it holds a generation back. Nobody considered the kids when they made the decision. And honestly, like this whole push, this whole anti-golf rhetoric, it doesn't even resonate. Half the people out here holding signs play golf. Half of them are coming off gated golf community. It's just, and I made the comments live. It's offensive. I got a lot of friends, and you know, having a business, I'm tremendously supported by Dawtaw. I mean, if it wasn't for Dawtaw Island coming off, you know, to be honest, my business, you know, would have collapsed. You know, I'm going on year 3, and I just couldn't do it without the support of everybody on the island. But I don't think that anytime my friends and my customers are riding by and seeing no gates, no golf, it's hurtful, man. It's hurtful to a community that's came, that spent their money here, that's done things the right way. And most times they give back. You look at the anonymous Buford Fund, who just passed away, coming off of Dawtaw. So many people like the CCL and Queen Quet who put their hands out and taking these donations, and then you slander them and white shame. And I can't prescribe to it, man. That's just not how you get forward. I think it's going to cost us big time in the end.
Willie, you're a good fella. What's next for you? You mentioned something Monday night, and I heard it, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't like that. Talking about getting your license in New York. What's next for you? And congratulations, by the way, on passing all that here in South Carolina.
Much appreciated. Yeah, unfortunately, Mike, that's just true considerations. You know, I'm at the age now where I have a duty to earn for my family. You know, I put in those who know me know I put in my entire life has been public service. I've never really focused on gains in terms of that. My impact I always saw was how much, I could change and benefit the community. So, I put in my work. I kind of did it backwards. And at this point now I got a duty. And so that is the crux of the matter too. As we talk about maintaining the culture, how are you going to do that? And then I want all the people who said no to tell me, how do you maintain a culture when you can't keep the kids? How do you maintain a culture when you can't keep the population? When you say maintain the culture, what are you referring to? Because I'm pretty sure every kid, every descendant, every living member of that Gullah Geechee community is the culture. Yeah. They are the culture. And I hate to say it, you really think the golf course is going to ruin the culture more than TikTok? You think the golf course is going to ruin the culture more than Facebook? You think the golf course is going to have more impact on the culture than the things you do inside your home, when the kids get there? That's a load of crap, man. And to call that as what it is and to use that as a tool to take away from these kids. And honestly, again, you go back and you look at these county council minutes, you go do your research, you see that the loudest voices are the ones who created the CPO. Mm-hmm. How can you expect somebody like Queen Quet, who wrote the CPO, to then disassemble her own work? Of course, her pride is going to make her want to validate this. You should never be the architect and also the evaluator of such laws. Anybody who touched that CPO, York, Queen Quet, anybody on that committee should have recused themselves. But you know what? You would have had a lot less people talking. I think from the moment there's a lot of issues here, Mike, too. And I don't want to take up too much time, but I'm saying when you look at this issue, you go back and look at all the minutes. Why is Marquetta, as y'all call her, Queen Quet, why is she given the first right every time? And what office did she run for? When was that election, and who voted for her? The funny thing is no one did, but that's just a disrespect that we receive from county council in this community, where you let anybody who writes a certificate says she's the queen, and you respect that. She's not a queen in any government, and in county council, that's under the laws of the state of South Carolina and the U.S. Constitution. And there's no Queen Quet under that government. To recognize her it's a false title, and it shows that we never really had a voice to begin with. You've given this person who's not elected some pseudo position of authority over us that doesn't exist.
That's wrong. What's next for you, my man?
So the fight continues. Of course, we're coming the third year of Willie's. We're going to continue to push the envelope. I mean, every day is fighting on St. Helena. We got volunteer opportunities. I'm mentoring every day. A lot of the work that won't get seen, it doesn't have to. We're putting in work. We got we're definitely working on creating an economic market, so to speak, a viable space on St. Helena where we can start to address these things. I mean, LBO would have been a great solution, but if that's not on the table, we still have to continue forward to find out ways to empower the people of St. Helena, restore dignity, and give these youth the opportunity to live here, to work here, and make a living. And so that's what I'm committed to right now. We got some things coming up. Of course, some things we keep close to air, but as we get ready to break, we definitely want to come back on and let things know. But we're definitely working right now to create some major opportunities in St. Helena.
And let people know Willie Tees is at Corners Community. What are your hours, and what's the next thing I need to get when I'm out that way?
Oh, man. So it's Willie's. We're at 7 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. That is the Corners Community. Man, we're open Thursday through Sunday. We open at 4 p.m. So you can come check us out. We got a lot of happy hour specials. Everything on the menu is great. Definitely get the wings. Definitely get you a Philly cheesesteak if you come out there. I don't think you can go wrong. So just be ready to eat. It's good food, good times. We had these guys come out there a handful of times. So, we'll have those guys coming back out too as the season gets a little cooler. So man, you guys stay tuned and check us out.
All right. Willie Terrell, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, buddy.
Appreciate it, Mike.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Let's go! The station that keeps it rocking 24/7. Ladies and gentlemen, BigPatriotRadio.com.
All right. Big thanks to Willie Terrell and his comments. They're personal. They're from the heart. I mean, he lives there. This isn't somebody who lives, on Hilton Head giving an opinion. I mean, he lives there. Let's go back. It is, by the way, 8:15, 15 past the hour. We were talking about the Pine Island plan and what each thing, the retains a rural character. We went through that. It would control the growth, as we said. Inflow golf course. Water doesn't leave. No chemicals. All natural. 66% reduction in density by having said yes to the golf course, if that's where you want to work. Say yes to the Pine Island plan. 66% reduction in density. It would have increased the forest protection by 60%. Isn't that what a conservation group should be in favor of? Protecting the forest? No. This group, they're supporting cutting the shit down. That makes absolutely no sense. The plan would eliminate over 1 million square feet of impervious surfaces. What do I mean by that? Asphalt, concrete, stuff that doesn't absorb the water back into the earth, yet runs off. Well, now there's 1 million square feet of impervious surfaces that could be put out there. It's going to protect the environment. I already mentioned this. It's going to create public benefit. Willie and I just talked about that. If for those of you who are bean counters, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, if you look, this is a big one though for you bean counters. if you look at the estimated tax revenue of 150 homes, which by the way is allowable, even though these conservation groups and county council people and self-appointed heiresses to whatever say that they just don't have the right to do it. Yes, he has something called by right development. Does he still have to get permits? Yes. Does he already have 173 septic tank permits? Absolutely. Anyway, if you look at the estimated tax revenue of the 150 homes, if you say no, which they did, the tax revenue is $685,000 per year to the county. If you compare that to the estimated tax revenue with only 49 secondary homes, those are 6%ers, an 18-hole golf course, saying yes to the Pine Island plan, that's a revenue of $1.185 million, $500,000 plus, $500,000 more for having less. More revenue for the county with less public costs. No, your taxes wouldn't go up for the conservation groups and anyone that is saying, oh, the Pine Island plan is going to make your taxes go up. It will not. That is a false statement. There's no need to increase any cost to public schools. The 6%ers, secondary homeowners, actually pay for the schools. They don't add to the schools. This isn't a children's community. With the Pine Island plan, now it may end up being a community full of kids. I don't know. That's a 7,200% increase in tax revenue to the county, and the locals aren't paying a single solitary dime. It's 180% more tax revenue than the by right development. As has been said, this truly is a no-brainer. The plan would have given the citizens of St. Helena Island resources that it wants. How many weeks have we heard? And the name just escaped me. Young lady has come before county council really demanding certain facilities. This would have provided that and not cost you a penny. Which, by the way, even Councilman Glover has heard over the years and saying that he doesn't think that St. Helena should pay for Bluffton. He's been heard saying that. But I guess, York, it's okay if the shoe is on the other foot. This all leads back to what Willie and I were when we were having our conversation. There's so many other players that aren't telling the truth. Here is the sole thing that would be going to be gained by St. Helena and the county with the downzoning approving the Pine Island plan. The developer was going to give $600,000 for acquisition of land for a cultural center and entrepreneurial market. Here's a check, $600,000. The developer was going to give a $500,000 check for boat ramp repair at Station Creek Landing on St. Helena specifically. Here's a check. Go fix it. The developer was going to give a $500,000 check for a turning lane at the intersection of Dulamo Road and US 21. No need to tax the citizens. Here's $500,000. Go put the turning lane in. The developer was going to give a $75,000 check for a protection survey on Defusky Island, part of the Gullah Geechee initiative. No need to try to raise the money. Here's a check. The developer was going to give $3.5 million that he had committed to the Beaufort County Housing Fund. Over $3 million, ladies and gentlemen. When we started the thing, we gave him $100,000, and we thought that was like we're crazy for doing this. The developer was going to give him $3.5 million, and you said no. That could have helped. The developer was going to give $2.5 million that he had committed to public benefit grants to nonprofits to support natural, cultural, historic resources, including home repair for those that can't afford it Willie and I were talking about it, can't afford it or do not have insurance. And currently, yes, many, and some have said most, I disagree with that. I haven't seen that data, but many on St. Helena do not apply, cannot apply and receive CDBG grants or other state grants because of heirs property problems, no home insurance problems, the actual home ownership problem, etc. That's $6 million, 3.5 and 2.5, $6 million that St. Helena was going to be handed to help put people in homes, to help people fix homes. The developer was going to seed $150,000 to start a local heirs fund for the heirs property problem that is nationwide in some places, but it's a lot up and down the East Coast. Heirs property is a huge issue. He was going to start it with 150 grand. Then the developer was going to give 1% of every lot sold, reinvested 50% to the Beaufort Housing Trust and 50% into the Coastal Community Foundation. So not only am I going to give you $6 million, I'm going to give you 1% of every lot I sell to go half into this one and half into that one. I don't know what the lots go for. I would imagine, I don't know, $1 million, maybe more. I don't know. This is amazing. This was amazing. The Pine Island plan would keep Pine Island rural for anyone, and I mean anyone. And Willie and I kind of went there. He was kind of going there. For anyone who thinks otherwise, you are just not listening, or you have a learning problem, or you're being told what to feel. And that is a problem. The island will be developed. It will be developed. The question is how. To break the cycle, you need to break the mold. The citizens of St. Helena, ladies and gentlemen, they just got hoodwinked. Slowly, some have started to get it, and on their own decision making. Folks like Willie and others. Many of Willie and I'm not going to go back into it. We talked about at the very beginning years ago, Councilman Glover. I think he was there. I know at least one time when all these deacons and elders and preachers and they prayed over the developer and laid hands on. They were in this, and then all of a sudden they got amnesia. The Queen spoke up and they got amnesia. The real downside of this is the local conservation group that got involved is actually doing a huge, huge disservice to St. Helena Island and the Gullah Geechee people. If there's someone who doesn't give a total rat's ass about them, it sure is starting to look like to a lot of people that it's this local conservation group. Instead of supporting what their name says, conservation, they're supporting more growth, more cars, more kids, more docks, more septic tanks, more chemicals on the lawns. Prior to Monday night's meeting, and this is where people are going to get a little pissy. Prior to Monday night's meeting, I had counted 7 votes, 7 pro votes to move this to second reading. I study this stuff. I read comments. I watch body language. I had 7 votes. Pro Pine Island plan. Moved it to the second reading. Begin the development agreement process. My holdouts were Alice Howard, Mark Lawson, Gerald Dawson, and York Glover. That's the 4 that I figured would be a no. There was only one yes vote, and that was Logan Cunningham. I guess if anybody says, does he have a set of balls, he just proved that. I began the next morning to ask questions, to dig, reach out to some informants, to people within the program and within the county. What in the hell happened? Why did you do this? Yada, yada, yada. Then I learned in the 11th hour, almost literally, one of the many lawyers that are floating around came to the county and demanded that they vote no. Doesn't matter who that is right now, but demanded that they vote no. The reason, because the county will be sued, and each of you will be sued, and it would be unconstitutional if you got rid of the CPO at the 11th hour. Now, how did this get arranged? I'm going to sit on that one, and we'll let that stew for a little while. Got to complete a few things. We'll let that stew resonate a little bit. But again, it appears that a local conservation group and a couple of county council folks made this effort to push this along for a lawyer to insist they vote no. To answer to the cry of being sued, first, the county is sued each and every day. That's not a joke. They're sued each and every day. To threaten the suit is disingenuous. Again, they're sued every day. Second, the council members will be sued individually. Total rubbish. There are laws and practices and insurance in place the county has to protect that. As long as you're the intent and you're not committing a crime, that is total rubbish. There is no malice in granting the removal of the CPO, which brings me to the third topic. The county has precedents. They have set the precedents, ladies and gentlemen, for decades of doing this very thing. That's why there is a development agreement process. You see, they never got to that. We spoke out loud and clear for months now that the development agreement process is the duty of the county council. I said at the beginning of the show. In other words, it's what we do. The outcome, positive or negative, the outcome is the end result of the process. What the council is supporting now is subverting that process and giving the authority to lawyers and to outside big money conservationists who, let me be frank here, they buy off politicians. No, they don't. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They buy off politicians. I've seen it. I've been around it. They buy off politicians. Checking here real quick in the chat box. Julianne, I saw something earlier. Yeah. A savvy developer would have known before he entered into a contract to purchase, yada, yada, yada. He chose to make it. Okay, so real quickly, because we're coming we're at 8:30 now here on Big Patriot Radio in Beaufort County's House of Cards. Normally, how this happens normally is that a developer doesn't buy a parcel until they've got their zoning in line. Case in point, Pepper Hall. The one up here on 170 that I lobbied for and they never got to it. That's normally how it happens. However, this landowner bought it. That is neither here nor there. The current infrastructure has been addressed and it doesn't accommodate the traffic. Henceforth, saying no to the Pine Island plan where you live and further east, yes, you're going to have a traffic problem. And it's because they said, we don't want no gates, no golf, that mentality. Now you're going to have a problem. Now you're going to have a problem. And it's because of the conservationists and it's because of Summerall County Council. Jamie Bowman, they don't care. Sheep. Meh. 60% of the people who spoke were from gated communities. I heard that. I've heard that from several people. And I saw that in the crowd. It was the dichotomy of that was interesting. Now Glover says he wants to build a community center, but he doesn't want LVOs. County being sued anyway. Absolutely. And the county gets sued every single day. Jindia, I hope I said that right. I'm glad to see you. Thank you for being here. New friend of the show. And there you go. Y'all going to have a little revival there of friendships. Glad to see you. Thank you for coming on. I hope you saw earlier. Anyway, let's keep going. Again, The conservation groups, they buy off politicians. Again, I've seen it. I've watched it. I've been around it. I have never taken a dime from them. I can tell you that. Actually, I've never taken a dime from any group other than through campaign donations that were legal. That's it. And it's never been a conservationist. Anyway, this is how they control politicians. You folks know this. You've seen this. This is how politicians are controlled. It's because of money. It's because of money. That's how they're controlled. Let's see. St. Helena. Yes. St. Helena, hear me loud and clear. County council does control you. They control you. You're not having your own destiny choices. They're making them for you. There are people giving a crown, so to speak, as was talked about earlier, that never went through an elected process, that people are under the affection that they have to follow, and they're being led down the wrong path in many people's minds. You're not making your own destiny choices, St. Helena. They're making them for you, and they're leading you down a path that is not going to be pretty for future generations. If you care about generational wealth, they're taking it from you. I want to take you all back possibly a year ago at a county council meeting. Larry McKellen, vice chairman then, had the gavel as Chairman Passament was off that night or out of town or whatever. There was a public debate, again, about Pine Island. The proposal at that moment in time, I think it was at public comment. When it was over, Larry ended the public comment. He spoke some words that I said then, you better listen. And y'all didn't listen. And now it's coming true. Larry spoke into the microphone, and he was right. He was dead right, and it's being proven. He said, I don't like how he worded this, but you people of St. Helena is what he said. I want you to know, you better think twice about what you're saying, because you might not like what you get, which is the alternative. Larry could not have been more right. Could not have been more right. Period. Move forward a year or year and a half or whatever it is. So Monday night, Larry, if you're watching, why did you vote no? The offer now, the Pine Island plan, is hundreds. Let's just call it 100-fold. What the hell? It's 100-fold better than anything previously, and it's 100-fold better than anything you're going to get in the future. Larry McKellen, you were making comments. You were for it then in the tone and the context. So what happened now? This offer was better. It's better for the entire county, but it's really better for what it's important to the St. Helena Island residents, and quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, their descendants, or I'm sorry, their predecessors that are dead and gone, that paved the road, that plowed the fields for them to have what they have now. They lost. It's better for the school system, for the Pine Island plan. It's better for police, fire, and EMS for the Pine Island plan. It's a cash positive plan. Why did you vote no, Larry? Anna Tabernick, my council representative, why did you vote no on such a positive plan to move forward to negotiations in a development agreement committee? Why? David Bartholomew, why did you vote no to give the negotiations a chance? You're a lawyer. Lawyers negotiate, but you voted no. Joe Passament, why did you vote no to give the process ability to play out? Do you not believe in the process, Joe? Do you not believe in limiting growth by controlling it? Or are you an unfettered growth guy? Or were you all buying into the scare tactics of lawyers and conservationists? I'm going to repeat saying that. Was Logan Cunningham the only one who had the knowledge going into this that it was a line of total BS? I don't think it was. I don't think Logan was the only one who knew. Logan had the balls enough to stand up because he knew what was going on. For the general public, you really should be asking what on earth is going on now with Beaufort County. My goodness. Why are council members being bullied? By the way, that was even mentioned by several during the public comment supporting my theory, and one of them was Senator Margie Bright Matthews. Who else is being bullied? Well, the citizens of St. Helena Island are being bullied. That's right. Let me real quick here. We're coming to our last little bit of story, talking about a county council member. The developer should have known before. This is Willie. Thanks again, buddy. Be careful driving and doing that texting. You all can see this, so understood. That's a great comment. Jadea, I hope I'm saying that right. Oh, you've been a couple of weeks. I didn't notice your name on there, so glad to have you. Welcome back. Yes, the youth and real poverty-stricken Gullah got screwed. Totally agree. Groupthink. There you go. They think they've won, but you're right. It is a ticket to Gentrification Express, and that gentrification train. Let me tell you, you don't want to ride that train. No, sirree. We don't want to ride that train. Yeah, it was a dog and pony show. Yeah, it certainly was. That there's no doubt. Talking about being bullied. Citizens of St. Helena are being bullied. Who else? We have a county council member, Tom Reitz of Hilton Head, who is being bullied by the county. And or, not sure, don't want to, just saying, the sheriff office, who still has his phones. Remember, he had his phones confiscated by warrant served on him in Java Burrito on Hilton Head because he went to the jail to visit an inmate whose wife called him and said, I can't reach him. We need to get medicine. I'm afraid he's going to die. It was on a Monday, I guess, or whatever day that county council had business. So he was in Beaufort, went over there. And again, Tom Reitz is not the kind of guy, the intent of malice or anything comes up. I mean, if you don't know Tom, I use this analogy a lot because it's right. Tom is not the guy who, knows jail lingo. You can talk to him. That's not his persona. I doubt if Tom has ever had a freaking speeding ticket. I don't know that I've ever heard Tom Reitz cuss, to be honest with you, now that I think about it. But to bring in a cell phone with the intent of doing something criminal, that is horseshit. That's ridiculous. But he's being investigated for criminal activity, I suppose. I don't know. He unintentionally, was that the right way to phrase it? Anyway, he brought a cell phone inside the jail to visit an inmate. They took his backpack, but they didn't lock it away. They put it behind the little glass where the guard is. They didn't make him go through a metal detector. They didn't wand him. And I asked the question, they didn't give him the keys to the jail once he was in there, did they? Somebody needs to be asking that. Did Tom Reitz, was he handed the keys to go into the jail, talking to the guard? Did that happen? I don't know. We need to know. Anyway, this is going on for weeks now. He's been, I'm sure he's living on the edge with the threat of arrest by the Beaufort County Sheriff's Department, who served him a warrant at Java Burrito for his personal phone and his county phone. And for a couple of weeks, he hasn't been able to do his job. We complained about it. Others complained about it. And all of a sudden, the county has another phone for him so he can do his job, but he still doesn't have his phones back. Anyway, meanwhile, we've got murders happening weekly, so it seems, all over the county. Murders. We've got gunshots, reports of shootings that I swear seems like daily. But let's bully this council member because he speaks out for the people. He's proud of that. He says, I'm speaking for the people. He voted no on this plan. And I told him, I said, I disagree with you. And here's why. And he heard it. He votes the way the people. Tom has no malice in his heart. But we're going to do that. And these murders just keep happening. These shootings just happening. People overdosing on fentanyl and meth and whatever, trank. I don't see the same emphasis on that. Maybe there is emphasis, but let's bully or give the appearance of bullying to this council member. Another citizen that we know of is being bullied by the county because she writes independent articles about scandals, cover-ups, and when she gets too close to the truth, the bullying comes back out by the county. By the county. We have a lady who was bullied multiple times over and over and over during the county public school library porn books issue that I was the other complainant about. She was bullied multiple times by foaming at the mouth liberals in this county. She had her name and address spread over social media and was even doxxed. Who else is getting bullied? Who else is getting bullied? I know a citizen was bullied by having a bullet placed in his mailbox. The true meaning of shut the hell up and don't speak out against the county or the sheriff's department or whatever. Who else is being bullied? Who else is being bullied by the county or the sheriff's department or your police department or any government agency? Write me. Write me. Here, I'll let you see. There's my email. There's my email. You can go to bigpatriotradio.com and you'll see the phone number. You can text me and leave your name off of it. I don't care. Is the county bullying you? Is law enforcement bullying you? Tell me your story. Don't sign your name if you don't want to. Don't even need to tell me your name if you don't want to. But I do need to make sure you understand that I have to make sure the accusation is correct and not a vendetta. I mean, you can say that, the county puts 2 bags of horse shit on my front lawn every day. We're going to check to make sure that that really happens. Okay. The more information you give, the easier it is for me to validate. So flatter me. We do have a strict policy here. And for years now, it's been the same policy and we've never broken it. And that is we have never, nor we will ever give out the name or names of any informants or researchers for that matter. We don't play that way. You are safe with Big Patriot Radio and Beaver County's House of Cards. So where does all of this go from here? Oh, I'm really not sure. I'm really not sure. But as I said in the beginning, Pine Island will be developed. It's a matter now of how will it be developed.
Locked and loaded.
Let's go.
Big Patriot Radio. Blues, news, country pop, and classic rock.
I want to thank Willie Terrell for coming on at such short notice. We appreciate that. Tune in next week, ladies and gentlemen, and be sure to tell your friends and neighbors to tune in. 7 o'clock right here, Eastern Daylight Time, 6 Central on Facebook, YouTube, and simulcasting live on BigPatriotRadio.com. Don't forget to like and share the stream before you go. Just like it, share it. Just share it away. It doesn't cost you anything. Just share it. That helps the algorithms get our show up the ladder and etc. Share the channels. Tell your friends about us. We love to have more folks on here. Getting close to that 2,500 stars on Facebook, so help us out there when you can. We greatly appreciate you. I want to thank all those folks for coming on here. Like Dia, our new friend of the show. Thanks for coming on here and being a part. Please do being a part of the show. Until then, we're going to be back here next week. But until then, be safe. And as always, watch your six. Good night, everybody.